Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Morning Comic Review. I'm your host, Dylan Wallace. Today, we got a great issue for you guys. Majority of the books that we're going to be reviewing came out this week, but we do have a couple of backlogs sprinkled in here as well. It was kind of a lighter week as far as pulls are concerned, which was good for me. Finally, I think we're getting past a lot of the stuff that I elected to, stop reading, which was good. So then we can just focus in on, some more of just things that I'm enjoying reading rather than just like kind of slogging through and just collecting for the sake of collecting. So with that, today's issue, we actually got a couple things. So of course we're going to talk about what we picked up this week. We're going to talk about what we're going to pick up next week. We'll review 10 books as per usual. But then we also have our previews too. So I went through the July previews, and those things I think are coming out in October, I want to say. So we'll talk about those real quick, and then I think that everything else is going to be kind of standard. As far as housekeeping for next week, so I'm traveling with my family Friday into like Tuesday of next week. So what I'm deciding is no Omega run for next week, and rather than doing that, I'll probably like record something earlier in the week, so that way it gets posted on Saturday, because if we're leaving Friday, we're going to be scrambling, I'm sure, on Thursday, so I'm going to have to record something early on to get it basically prepared and scheduled to post on Saturday. So no Omega next week, and then the following week, I'd imagine no Omega as well, and we'll just kind of do a Saturday post. I'll say content-wise for me, on the wrestling side, there's a lot happening this weekend, specifically today. I am recording today on Saturday. So content-wise, there'll still be plenty of stuff out there, but on the comic side, it may just be just a couple of issues for the next couple of weeks, and then we get back into the Omegas, is what I'm thinking for now. So just kind of keep that in mind, and then once we get past this, I don't really foresee anything in the too distant future, so we'll get probably back to just Omegas and regular issues as per usual. So with that, let's just go ahead and talk about previews real quick. So I don't have any visuals set up for them, but I do have a couple of items that I thought were interesting, that I thought, okay, let's bring this up and kind of, talk about it. And maybe interesting to you, but I'm not going to particularly be reading it. And then other things that I am going to be picking up. So on my radar, I had 5 books that seemed interesting. So first, there's going to be a brand new Batman. So there's a new Batman long form series that's starting out. I'm not going to pick it up because I'm already reading Batman now. And I found that, picking up a new series, to me just seems, I just have so many of these ongoing series right now that I want to get through. So let's just kind of hold off on that. What I may end up doing is just picking up the first issue and just seeing if that's interesting, and if I want to continue from there, we'll kind of decide. So it's kind of up in the air whether or not I get the first issue, but that don't plan on pulling long term. Then next up, going through some things that just seemed interesting. So Gray Lady, which is an Image one-shot, just looks like it could be interesting. It's a one-shot, kind of low risk, just picking up the one issue, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that. Kill All Immortals 2 from Dark Horse. So I really enjoyed the first one. This was early on when I was podcasting, so some of the reviews for those are out. Really incredible story of here, let's take Norse mythology, but let's put it into kind of modern day with a modern day story. So I thought that was pretty cool, as like the Norse gods as billionaire families that have been around forever, and just kind of all the political stuff that goes around along with that. So that seemed cool. And then there's going to be the first Marvel DC crossover in like multiple decades is what I've heard. So it's going to be Deadpool and Batman teaming up together. I think it's just a one shot. So incredible. I was like, of course I'm going to be picking that up. I find that so interesting though. Batman, of course, right? The best character that you can get on the DC side. There may be argument of someone else from the Trinity, whether it be Superman or Wonder Woman, but it's going to be Batman as number one. I think that's very safe to say. But then they just give Deadpool on the Marvel side. Like, you couldn't have done anyone else. You couldn't have done an Avenger. I find that hilarious. But, Marvel stock is way up, and DC starting to pick up a little bit. So I'm hearing great things about the Superman movie. It seems like the fans are really enjoying it. I think most places are giving it like an 8 out of 10. But Rotten Tomatoes seems really, really good. It's selling extraordinarily well. On the previews, I saw it already sold like 22.5 million on just previews alone. So we'll see how it does for this weekend for the open. But I'd imagine we kind of have a hit here, and James Gunn seems to be off to a good start. He did mention for the DC Universe movies, everything's going to kind of be its own individual movie rather than this big, MCU thing where it's all tied. Maybe we get to that later down the road. When Marvel first started, there wasn't this grand plan of like making sure everything ticks and ties when you had Iron Man, the Hulk, Thor, so on and so forth. So, maybe they're just kind of just making sure that we have some good movies to start, and then we worry about, everyone teaming up way later down the line. But then the last thing I was going to pick up is Red Book by Dark Horse, and this is James Tynion. So I read Blue Book, and I think that was before I started podcasting. So Blue Book is basically about aliens, but it's like an actual recounting of, first contacts way back in the day in like the 60s and 50s and 70s and things like that. And it's like kind of a nonfiction memoir, the way that it's kind of written. And Red Book looks like it's going to be the same, but rather than incidents that took place in the United States, it's going to be incidents I think that took place internationally, and then like specifically Russia and the Soviet Union. So I really enjoyed Blue Book, so I was like, okay, let's go ahead and pick up Red Book as well. So more actually than I planned on picking up. I kind of wanted to still wait and see as things kind of die down, but now I feel a lot more comfortable with just dropping stuff and picking stuff up when I feel like it. So I was like, okay, let's just go ahead and grab them, because some of these books I enjoyed in the past. Of course, we got to get the crossover. If that's just a one-shot, and the Gray Lady being a one-shot, that seems fine as well. So those are the previews and things out there. With that, let's go ahead and jump into our polls for this week. And so for the polls, go ahead and share screen, make sure we got everything up and running. That's next week I got up on the screen. Let's start for the picks of the week thus far. So these are the top 5 that League has as of right now. So we have Absolute Superman number 9, which I have. If you already saw on the video, that's the first book that we'll be reviewing. Fantastic Four number 1. So I didn't plan on picking up Fantastic Four because it's a long-going series. But when I got to the shop on Thursday, they had a whole bunch on the shelf. So I was like, okay, well, we can just pick up the one, read it, see if we want to get into it or not. So that's what I decided to do. I did actually pick up that issue. Then Transformers 22, of course, we're on Transformers. We read it, we will review it. And then the next 2 I'm not on. So Beneath the Trees, Where Nobody Sees, Rite of Spring, I'm not on that, unfortunately. And then Batman Dark Patterns always seems to be in the top 5, and I'm not on that. I'm thinking maybe I'll go ahead and pick up the trade when that comes out, because I've constantly seen really good things from Dark Pattern. Like, it's always on this list. But those are the top 5. When I actually picked up, we have listed here. So for these, it's probably easiest, audio listeners, if I just let you know which ones are not going to be reviewed on this show. And if I mention it or call it out here, likely I did review it. So we have Absolute Superman, Doctor Strange of Asgard, Free Planet, I should say the numbers, Absolute Superman number 9, Doctor Strange of Asgard number 5, Free Planet number 3, Green Lantern Corp number 6, Magik number 7, that is a backlog, Miles Morales Spider-Man number 35, and then Poison Ivy Volume 5. So I've been picking up these hardcovers, and this dates back to when I first started getting into comics. I was trying to pick up some hardcover trades that would be good for travel. And so I've continued to just constantly pick up the specifically Poison Ivy hardcovers because they look incredible. But that's just like a weird thing that I've just been continuing doing. The shop didn't have it in my box, and I was like, okay, great, that actually saves a lot on budget. This is the first time in, I don't know, maybe 8 to like 12, maybe even longer months of where I was actually underneath budget, which was pretty pretty good. So that was a nice feeling. But I would have blown it if this one would have been in there. And so if it shows up, great. If it doesn't, I think I'm fine with that as well. But then we have the Power Fantasy, number 10. Transformers, number 22. For the video, folks, it says I didn't review it. I just forgot to mark it in League, but I did. And then Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion, number 2. So majority of those we will be reviewing. It's just Magik 7 and Miles Morales 35. That's on the backlog. Again, Fantastic Four I didn't have on my pull list, but I saw it in the shop, so I went ahead and picked it up. The other thing I picked up as well was Captain America number 1. So I know last week that was the comic of the week, and it's like an ongoing series. I decided not to pick it up. But it was like literally going into comic book shop on Thursday where I was like, you can just grab these number 1s and it's totally fine. You don't have to pick up the whole series or anything like that. So that's what I decided to do here, is just pick up that number 1 as well. And I'm going to save that, not for the Omega, because I'm not doing an Omega for next week, but for the next issue, we'll make sure that we review that Captain America as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. So those are the pulls for this week. Let's go ahead and jump into our reviews. So on the docket here, 10 as per usual. I'll call them out for the audio listeners, and we will be reviewing them in this order. Just as a reminder, if you're new to the show, I do spoil the heck out of all these books. So just bear that in mind. If you do not want spoilers, this just will not be the show for you, unfortunately. But I just want to give you the heads up. In my review, I'll try to catch you up on where we're at on the story thus far. I'll give you a brief recap of this particular story, where things are heading, and if it's a good time to jump in, and then the rating as well. We'll do that for all 10. So we have Absolute Superman number 9, Fantastic Four number 1, Transformers number 22, Free Planet number 3, The Power Fantasy number 10, Doctor Strange of Asgard number 5, Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion number 2, Green Lantern Corp number 6, and then I had a couple of backlogs in here as well because I knew this pull list was going to be shorter. So in order to fill out the 10, I knew I was going to need some. So we have 2 X-Men books. We have Exceptional X-Men number 5 and Magik number 1. I always think Magik, but it's actually Magik. Because it would make sense, right? She's from Limbo, and I think she's Russian as well. But looking it up, most people just say Magik. So we will start off with our first one here, which is Absolute Superman number 9. And this one, I gave it a 4. And Lee gave it a 4.2. So for this book, really, really good book. The opening is like pretty, I don't want to say like gruesome, but it is... it's like the stakes are pretty high here. So in the previous issue, Superman was shot multiple times with Kryptonian bullets. And with that, Superman was taken by the Omegas, which is this group rebelling against the Lazarus Corporation, to try to save his life. So they bring him to an operating table, and they got to pull these bullets out of him. So there's 3 in him. The Omegas are working on him. They have all this technology that they're using to find the bullet. Surgically, they remove 1. When they remove 1, Superman does this like blast, destroys all the equipment. So now we got 2 left. And then Superman like kind of jolts awake, and he's like, give me the scalpel. I'll do it myself, because the Omegas don't have now like, the tech and the equipment to see where they're at. So he goes in, reaches in, pulls one out himself. And then there's another like big blast, and it takes so much energy out of him to do that. Obviously, ripping a freaking bullet out of your body. Insane. So if I do the next one, I'll probably pass out midway of doing it. So then there's the last one, and they're like, we don't know how to do it. And one of the Omegas says, grab the God Box. And this is the first reference to the God Box. So they're like, no, we don't know what it's about. We don't know. And she's like, go, do it. So they grab it, and it's like this weird alien-looking technological box, and they put it on top of Superman, and it like hovers over, and I guess sure enough, it takes out the bullet. So we get a little non-linear into the very close future, like a couple hours ahead, and so on and so forth. So then obviously Superman feels like a debt of gratitude to the Omegas. They're fighting, of course, against Lazarus Corp across the world, and Superman joins them in their fight. I think it's in Pakistan, where there's a bunch of rebels out there that are protesting, and but they're being, assaulted, and I guess just a overwhelming amount of force from the peacemakers. So they're sending the Omegas out there to fight back. And so Superman joins in. But the Omegas are pretty heavy-handed in their killing, and Superman doesn't like that. And he's like, hey, I used to usually just work alone, and we can't be killing. But as he's working with the Omegas, he's starting to realize, like, a lot of his anger is building up, and it's starting to fester more and more. And he's becoming someone that he doesn't want to be. And Soul says, hey, that God box thing, you can't ever allow that to happen again. And so sure enough, we have this God box, and it kind of shows taking out the bullet, but we have no idea what this device is, what it's all about. And so after the surgery's done, Superman's starting to recover. And he's talking to Olsen, which is like the kid that we met a couple issues ago. It was part of the Omegas, a newer recruit. He's trying to get to the rank of Alpha within the Omegas, and starts talking a little bit about his backstory. And he basically, growing up, realized that rather than just sitting on the couch and doing nothing, he wanted to be part of the rebellion. So that way, when he had kids, he'd look back and say, I did something. But in the end, he actually gets a vasectomy, he said, and just decides to join the Omegas and fight for the Force. So they're fighting, and then they, fall back and retreat. And in the big retreat, they leave Olsen there. And Olsen is captured. And now he's being interrogated by Lazarus, but specifically by Lois Lane. And recall, she's now working for Lazarus Corp. Kind of a reporter, but not really. She's like a special agent within the Lazarus Corp. Her father was like a really high up general. He's got like these bionicle legs that the company has provided him. And so Lois betrayed Lazarus Corp by working with Superman. And when Superman was taken by the Omegas, Lois was left there. Ra's al Ghul came up and basically intimidates her face to face in jail. And he never really shows his face. It was like a big deal. And Lois basically goes through the whole logic of, you wanted to show up here to intimidate me and basically threaten my father. And she's like, yeah, you're a smart cookie. That's basically it. But it's not threatening your father with his legs. It's threatening your father with his life. And then Lois is so good, she basically pulls out a dagger and is able to escape her shackles. And Ra's al Ghul's like, you can do it. You can strike me down, but I'm going to come back to life because I'm sure he's got a whole bunch of clones or whatever else going on. And then your father is basically just dead. So up to you. So it leaves Lois with that. And then so the cliffhanger at the end of the book is basically now Alpha, Olsen is captured by Lois, and they're trying to learn more about Superman. The other thing that happens in here as well is Superman starting to realize that he's becoming something different, and he's basically having thoughts in his mind of where am I going to put his base. And so it's embarrassing that I can't think of it off the top of my head, but what is it called? Fortress of Solitude. Jeez, I couldn't think of the word fortress. It is 6 o'clock in the morning. Bear with me. So he's trying to figure out, where do I go ahead and put that? Do I put it in some mountain, or do I put it far away? The leader of the Omegas is reaching out to him and saying we got to do this. They're going to kill millions, if not billions of people. And, he feels this debt of I need to help and support, but at the same time, he doesn't want to go about it, killing people this whole way. And so he's starting to think of these things of where to go. And then Soul, which is his cape, basically, is barking orders of don't ever let the God box do what it did before. And Superman, you're changing. Do you not feel yourself? The longer you're on this planet, the more that you are being corrupted, basically. So we have this kind of inner fighting that Superman is dealing with of, okay, well, do I owe these people a debt to continue to do what they want me to do? Or, should I just try to carve my own path and have an almost an identity crisis of, well, who is Superman and what is Superman all about? Which is interesting. A lot of good in-depth storytelling here and character development. So that's the issue. Let's go ahead and jump through the artwork real quick. I think for where we're at right now, This would be a pretty decent spot to jump in. You just want to understand um, what all happened to him back on Superman's homeworld. But where we're at right now, if you understand the basics of Superman, I think it actually would be a pretty good time to jump on in. You get a good understanding of, okay, like these Omegas are the clearly like the rebels here, but maybe they're going about this all the wrong way. But they obviously need Superman's support and help. So how are they going to be able to like kind of coexist and both get their objectives completed and then stop Lazarus, but maybe do it more of like a morally sound way? But the action scenes here are excellent. You have some really good, like Superman, like overpowering and like soul going into like this crazy overcharge mode and exploding. Of course, the beginning of like ripping out the bullets is like pretty gruesome and over the top, but it's good stuff. So, or sorry, not gruesome, but intense is the word I'm looking for. So that's Absolute Superman number 9. Again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.2, and I do think it's a pretty good place to jump on it. Excellent book. All the absolutes have been crushing it, but Absolute Superman, really good. It's actually like the first piece of Superman content I've actually been consuming. So then we have Fantastic Four number 1. So this is a variant copy that I have right here, and I didn't realize this is like a 1 of 25, and it was just sitting there on the shelf. I was like, this one looks so dope. I thought it was so cool. So I was like, I'm gonna go with that one instead. But if I'll show you cover A real quick on the website, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.3. But my issue is actually this one that has the thing on it, just doing a dope little pose. This book here is just the kickoff to what is happening here. It's all taking place during One World Under Doom, or at least the start of it anyways. I think it's a little further in the past than where we are right now, because we're basically at the point where in the current canon or run that Doom, the Avengers, and the Fantastic Four all kind of like teamed up together to go after Dormammu. So I'm not entirely sure where in the timeline it is. I'd imagine it's a little bit before, where Doom has already become Emperor and Sorcerer Supreme for sure, but it's not far enough to where Dormammu has shown up, would be my guess. So the Fantastic Four, they're fighting Doom. Obviously, they want to stop him from being the Emperor and the Sorcerer Supreme. Doom sends all 4 of them into different timelines on planet Earth. So all 4 are in different places. You have Human Torch. He's like way, way early on before any living creatures, and like there's just nothing but volcanoes and lava, and there's barely an atmosphere and barely any oxygen. So he's way early on in Earth's life. The Thing is in Land of the Dinosaurs, basically. Mr. Fantastic is in kind of like a medieval era, and then Invisible Woman is way, way in the future, where the sun has already turned to like a red star. Everything on Earth is dead, and there's nothing that exists. And so the Fantastic Four decided when this happens, what they need to do is they need to find the Forever Stone. So their suit has an ability to tell them, here's where you are in time. They try to send out a signal to each other. Not any of them can interact with any of the other ones. So like, okay, in this emergency protocol, we find the Forever Stone, which is a stone that exists all throughout Earth. So the Human Torch finds it first, writes in his time. Then the Thing shows up. He already sees where the Human Torch is. He writes in his time, like above it or below it. Then Mr. Fantastic goes. He sees the other 2, and he writes in his. So, Mr. Fantastic basically knows that, like, okay, the other 2 are before me, then it's me. So it has to be Invisible Woman is somewhere ahead. But they didn't realize how far ahead. So Invisible Woman goes to look for the stone, but she can't find it. It doesn't exist. And because they're so far ahead, what the Fantastic Four never did is they never went that far ahead in the future to see if it still exists, basically at the end of Earth's life, because they never predicted for it. And that's the cliffhanger. They got to figure out where the world or the Forever Stone is, or she does anyways. Otherwise, there's no way of any of them getting out. And for the Human Torch, there's no oxygen, so it's like very difficult and challenging for him to breathe. the Thing, there are dinosaurs going after him, and for Mr. Fantastic, he needs to avoid human contact by any means necessary to avoid any sort of butterfly effect. So each of them has kind of their own challenges that they're dealing with, and then the Invisible Woman, like, she has to pretty much stay invisible in order to even stay alive, in order to like force off any of this excess heat that's hitting the Earth, because there's like no atmosphere. By her doing that, though, basically it can like just barely keep her alive. Otherwise, she would effectively vaporize from the heat. So pretty cool story, interesting lead-in. I don't know if I'm going to be here for it, but I'm glad that I picked it up and read through it. The artwork here is excellent. Really good, excellent action scenes. Like, look at this full spread that you have here. Pretty incredible. And then pretty early on, each character gets sent to their different part into history. And we just basically go through a couple pages for each character. I think the Human Torch gets the most, just because he's trying to find the stone in the first place and needs to figure it out. Then we have the Thing and the dinosaurs attacking him, which is interesting because it's like, you know, obviously he's all made of stone, but I guess they find him appetizing. And then Mr. Fantastic in the medieval era. It took him 3 months to even get to it, but he finally made it. And then the Invisible Woman in this time, apocalyptic time, where there's literally nothing left. But I'm sure she'll find something out there and they'll be able to figure it out. So yeah, it's Fantastic Four. Pretty interesting story. Obviously, it's a number one. It's the time to jump in. Again, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.3. Then next up is Transformers number 22. This book here is excellent. I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.5 as well.
Nailed it. I know. Thank you. Moving on.
And this book is just awesome for a number of reasons. So first and foremost, how much this advanced the story is like the biggest piece for me. But it's not just like one aspect of the story, it is multiple aspects of the story. So I'm going to actually have to pull up my notes for this one because there's so much that took place in this book. And then the action that you have here is pretty good as well. But let's scroll on down here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different bullets that I have for this. And I think it's like 6 different story beats that you have here. So the Autobots themselves, they're barely able to escape the Decepticons, but they are. And when they escape, they're confronted by a bunch of humans. But these are good humans. They're from the hospital. They realize, you know, that there are kind of two sides to this. And so they recognize that the Autobots are the good side, and they're trying to help out Optimus. So Optimus is like basically dying from being infected from Megatron, and it's somehow messing with his core matrix. And he seems like he's dying from effectively like some sort of virus and not able to recover. But the Autobots have this portal, and it's the portal that could basically lead back to Cybertron, but it hasn't worked since Spike's father went through it. And so they're trying to figure out what to do, and Spike decides, you know, I'm just going to like put my hand through it, because if Dad went through it and it was able to stop it, maybe me putting my hand through it can then restart it. So he goes to put his hand through. Optimus goes to stop him at the same time, and then they both, like, their eyes light up, and it turns on for some reason, but they're in this like stasis form. And so Optimus in particular, he ends up in the Hall of Primes. So he's like seeing these visions basically. So that's one piece of the story. Other piece of the story is Megatron. They're in the search, of course, for the Autobots. They're trying to find tracks. They find these old tracks, and it's actually callback to issue 2, where Optimus was going through into like the forest, and he unintentionally stepped on a deer and like obviously killed it. Where he buried the deer, and so they're at the gravesite of where that was, and freaking Megatron takes the deer out of the grave, and he's like, this is why Optimus is so weak. Like, why would you do something like this? Who cares about these creatures? And he literally like squishes the dead corpse and like tosses it. And so he decides, let's not even pursue Optimus. And I'm like, what? Why would we not pursue him? It's like, because he needs to learn. I'm going to let him have hope one more time that he's going to be able to, you know, get out of this, just to completely extinguish the flame, and then just like break his spirit. It's like, geez, Megatron, that's dark effed up stuff, but that's what he decides to do. Then you have Starscream and some other Decepticons. They're just killing humans for the sake of killing humans and literally counting off how many that they've killed and destroyed. So they're just having a grand old time killing people. So that's all taking place. Then back on Cybertron, you have Cliffjumper and like the Rebels, and they just resurrected a new Autobot that's going to fight for them by taking, I guess, the souls or the remaining shards of some dead warriors and basically forged a brand new soldier. And so they're able to get, I guess, the teleporter on their side to work. And it can only has enough energy, though, to send one Autobot. And they're like, Cliffjumper, you go back. That way, you know, you can help and support. And then relay the message that, hey, on Cybertron, we have this new Autobot that can help. I wrote his name. What is it? Shredhead. So it's the first time that we have someone that can actually fight up against the Decepticons. And so Cliffjumper actually wants Shredhead to go back to Earth and help out because he thinks he's actually going to do a lot more good there. And then for Cybertron, they're kind of screwed. So Cliffjumper goes to say his goodbyes. He goes to hug Shredhead right in front of the portal, and when he does, he actually goes and like tosses him through the portal, and they can only send one person, so it's Shredhead, and then the portal cuts out, and then the main person there, she's like, what the hell, why the F did you do that? Throw him in the brig. And so he's sent to jail, and we assume Shredhead's going to end up on Earth at some point. Then there's a one Autobot that's in captivity along with Carly. He's being tortured. One of the scientists like sees this happening and is like, enough's enough, and he releases that Autobot, and they go running out. Autobot grabs up the scientist, grabs up Carly. He's like, why did you do that? He's like, I was a prisoner of war at one time as well. I could tell you guys are actually on the good side, and so I wanted to help out. So that all takes place there. And then the Optimus and his team, as they're trying to work on Optimus while he's in the stasis form, everyone's evacuating from the West Coast. Obviously, Seattle has fallen from all the fights that's taken place before. The Decepticons are just running wild, and they're going to have like one final stand in Chicago. So that's where like the next big battle is all going to take place, is Chicago. So a whole bunch of shit happened in this book. But man, it was so good, so incredible. I love this one. And so with that all being said, this is the comic of the week. Incredible stuff. So let's jump into the artwork to take a look. Everything here is excellent as always. Just such high level of detail of like the destruction that's happening on Earth, on Cybertron, so on and so forth. So here's where if I can get the glare out of here, but where Cliffjumper throws Shredhead through the portal. We have this little camp that they set up for Optimus, and here is where Spike reaches his hand into the portal, and then Optimus ends up in the Hall of Primes here. This is the Megatron scene where he sees the grave and decides to try to crush Optimus's spirit one more time. Starscream going crazy with the other Decepticons, killing off some more humans. Carly and her whole scene where they free this Autobot here, and towards the end is where they head off to Chicago and they're all evacuating. So excellent book. I think you'd be fine to jump in here at this point. You have a whole bunch of stuff that is advanced forward that you don't necessarily need context for. Like, you basically get the understanding. Even what happened on Cybertron, they allude to of like, hey, this is the first warrior, so you understand that like the recruitments are thin, and the amount of reinforcements that they have is very thin. So I think you're totally fine to jump in here at Transformers 22. I think you'd be good to go if you're interested. So again, that's Transformers 22. I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.5 as well. And that is our comic of the week. Next up here is Free Planet number 3. And so for Free Planet, this one I did stop. So in the end, it is...
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, no thanks for me. There's just too much exposition for this book, unfortunately. So of the 3, this was the best. I gave it a 3.5. And we're kind of getting to a place where like I understand like the writing style and what to expect. We have this free planet. So we're in this huge intergalactic conflict or whatever, and this one planet wanted to break away and rebel and deem themselves as a free sovereign planet, basically. Just getting a sip of coffee. And we're learning about the adventures and the stories that go along with that. So this issue here, this planet, now that they're a free sovereign planet, there are a bunch of marauders out there. And so the planet has some valuable resources, and since it's by itself, there's no one really defending it. It's not defended by the equivalent to the Empire here, so it's on its own. So these marauders see this opportunity to go and attack. And so the free planet people are like, we got to defend, obviously. So they go and defend, and amazingly, they're able to hold off, even though they have like lesser technology, and defend against these marauders. So that's basically the whole point of the book. But some other parts happen too, where you have a new alien species that's been introduced. It's like this hive mind species that's been around for millennia, and they don't lead on to how much that they actually know, but it seems as though they know the future, like what is going to happen, like they always have been. And so they basically already know like where they're going to go, what's going to happen, and they send out like different like individual entities, but it's all one hive mind, right? So one of them shows up and is like the ambassador to the free planet, and then like it's like, okay, we're gonna go to the bridge now, and it's like, well, how do you know that? It's like, because we've already done it. So they like know that there's like some sort of future, and they just kind of follow this path, and I guess there's no like real free will to it. They just continue. So all the other people are like, oh, there's something to, you know, the myth is that they know about the future, but there's definitely more that they know than what they're leading on. So there's more to come from that. But yeah, I'm stopping it at this point. It's, I don't know, I think it's the wrong medium for what they're trying to build here. When you just go through the text, like that makes more sense. But when they have like all this extra exposition, and they have it listed out almost as like files and like intel of like trying to learn more, so maybe you don't necessarily need to read it, but it's there on the page, so I feel obligated to. I feel like that's part of the comic rather than just the dialogue. So that's what makes it a slog to go through. And so I elected, we can stop here. That's enough for this universe. I get the gist of what we're trying to do, but for me, it is, again, no thanks. So let's go into the artwork here, which is pretty cool. This is one of the most interesting books that I've seen from an artwork perspective. So you have the Marauders here, and they're just giving a breakdown of everything. And then it leads into this space fight. And so for this fight here, and this is like the new creature that they introduce and like this hive mind that they have. But this space fight, they kind of change up the orientation of the comic. So as they're fighting, it starts to flip, as you can see here. And then when it starts flipping, the whole comic starts to rotate. So now we're in like kind of the, I guess, landscape orientation. And then you get to the next page and it literally flips upside down. And then you get to the next page and it does like a full, 360, which is pretty cool. I was like, I've never seen something like that in a book. I've seen it go sideways and then back, but not like a full 360 like that. But it makes sense, right? They're flying up in space, which is cool. So, yeah, I mean, interesting from an art perspective. The story is just, there's so much to absorb. It's better on this one, not nearly as, like, I just felt dumb reading the first one and a little bit of the second one, but the third one, not so much. But still, in the end, it's not the greatest. So again, I gave it a 3.5. Lee gave it a 3.5 as well.
Nailed it. I know. Thank you. Moving on.
I think I forgot to hit that at the top of the review. But that's Free Planet. You could jump in. I mean, you get the gist of it from the start. And this is the best of them, and honestly, I just don't really recommend. So, but next year, the Power Fantasy. Now, I found this website for the Power Fantasy that was super helpful to like help solidify and remind me what all is happening here. So issue 10, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.5 as well.
Nailed it. I know. Thank you. Moving on.
If Transformers was the comic of the week, this is story of the week. So the Power Fantasy, we get the backstory as to why Dev has taken the place of Magus. So to set it all up, Power Fantasy is basically X-Men, but it's like a little more over the top and a little darker in its tone. So we have multiple supers, but it's not that many in this world. And all of them are effectively an Omega level threat. Some are like a little lesser, but overall they are. And the way that they have them laid out, we have Valentina. So Valentina is effectively Superman, but Superwoman, if you will. Where her abilities, she's like angelic, literally from heaven, can fly, can destroy the world, that level of power. But she's from heaven, so overall she's good. Would never hurt a fly, but then would unintentionally destroy a continent. Like, that's how it's described. Then you have NTN, and he is an Xavier level psychic, right? Professor X. Then you have Heavy. Heavy is like very similar powers and power level of Valentina, except he's just not from heaven, but he's got effectively Superman's powers. Heavy has a son who's about to turn 18 that's been hidden from the world. Heavy believes that his son has superpowers as well, and they're going to reveal that. That's been a lot of the middle part of this book, is that revealed to us as readers, and then you get more of that reveal further in here. And then you have the other side, you have Magus. So Magus is like the head of this cult, and it's like a magical cult. Magus, we find out what his actual power is, you know, when he got his powers is infinite knowledge, effectively. And he knew everything about the universe that there is. And because he knew everything about the universe, he knew how to exploit it, thus, which is like magic. And by having all these cultists, he's basically able to manipulate time, and he's like a head sorcerer wizard, if you will. Then there's Eliza. So Eliza was part of Magus's cult, and it's a pyramid, as you can see on the title here and in the video. And so it's obviously Magus at the top, and then people work their way up these cults. And so Eliza was like in the cult, and her husband was in the cult as well, Dev. Eliza moved up higher and faster than Dev did, and so Dev kind of went to the wayside as Eliza ascended. There was this huge threat called the Queen that attacked. It was like this alien that landed there. It's the summer of love. It was like everyone was under this kind of spell of like ecstasy, but there was no like wars or fighting. It all took place in like Manchester or whatever. But suddenly this queen realized that no matter how much love and ecstasy and whatever influence she poured out, there was still going to be hatred in the world. And then she completely turned and cracked, and then started like destroying everything. And it wasn't NTN, it wasn't Valentina, it wasn't Heavy who saved the day. It ends up being Eliza. And the reason Eliza did is when she was like promoted to this level, she made a deal with Hell in order to gain even more power that's like equivalent, if not even higher than Magus. And then they attacked this queen, destroyed like basically all of Europe in the fight, but was able to destroy her. In doing that and all the murder and making that deal with Hell, she's been trying to amend for that, and like praying to God constantly as like this devout religious, but she's still like hellborn. And so the crazy thing about it is she's talking to God and praying, and God is talking back, but it's not actually God talking back. It's NTN pretending to be God. So she thinks that she's going to be redeemed at all this, but in the end, she's still just going to go to hell. It's like effed up stuff. Saved the whole world, did it under these crazy pretenses, thinking that everything was going to be fine, and then in the end, she's still going to go to... It's like, damn. And then it was revealed in the last issue that it's not actually Magus who is like in our present day right now, it's Dev. And in this issue, we learn what happened. So Magus is like, I can't go back after this whole fighting thing. Dev, you have to go. And Magus is like, I got to go into the future because there's something crazy that's going to happen. So Dev, you need to take my place and just pretend to be me while I go and figure out to like prevent all of this from imploding. Because what's happening now is this power struggle is starting to develop. You have this struggle where it's Valentina and NTN who have teamed up before. But NTN, as this like psychic, he's like all about what's ethically and what's like morally the right thing. It's more ethics, is the ethical thing to do. But he'll do like dark, twisted, effed up stuff in order to maintain the balance. Like for example, there's this other super. Her name is Matsumi, and her emotions when she gets angry like releases this kaiju Godzilla level thing, and that's happened in the past. Like completely destroyed. I think it was Florence, Italy, or Rome, one of them, when she got all pissed off. And so she's dating this girl, and NTN will basically just go into the mind of this girl and just like force her to continue to date Matsumi. So Matsumi is happy, because if they were to break up, then they're afraid that this Godzilla will be released again and kill all these people. So he like intentionally just forces this woman to date Matsumi, which is nuts. And it was like, I think 2 issues ago where she broke that spell for some reason because NTN was losing focus and they broke up, or like she told something negative to Matsumi. Matsumi actually handled it like an adult and didn't summon the kaiju. So that was good. But anyways, like that's like the crazy shit that's going on. So now with Heavy's son being introduced, now there's like a new power dynamic that can happen. So if his son teams up with Heavy, now you kind of have like a 2v2, and it's like where it was Magus and Eliza fall, they're like kind of aligned together, and especially now that Magus is actually Dev, which is her husband, they're like for sure together. And in the end, it's revealed that basically Eliza and Dev plan on teaming up and killing NTN. I don't know that they know that NTN is the one pretending to be God, but they feel like that's the course that they need to go in order to survive, which is crazy. So it's nuts. It's confusing. I'm thinking back what everything I just said, that's all true. So if you're like, what the F are you talking about? It's a nuts book. Obviously, it's not the time to jump in, but I highly recommend this trade. It is so incredible. They got nominated for an Eisner. They're like on short list for that. It's been an awesome, awesome ride. I'm so sad that it's going to come to an end shortly. Like just the first issue alone, if you can find that, where NTN goes and it's Heavy, he's trying to make this like grand gesture, and the United States government takes it as a threat, and so they attack the pyramid. And when they attack the pyramid, I think some of the people in it die, and it's Heavy, not Magus. So it's like he doesn't have a pyramid, he has like a floating sphere or something like that, but it's like a floating island, and Heavy, who's like just as powerful as Valentina, like Superman type powers, NTN like calls to him and is like, hey, I know you're pissed, just don't attack, what do you need me to do? And whatever I do, it's going to be a lot less damage than whatever you're going to do. And he's like, you got to kill the president right now. And he's like, done. And like with the snap of the finger, like the president's dead. And like that's issue 1. So it's like nuts. Yeah, so we'll see the whole big fight that's going to take place after all of this, I'd imagine, with Eliza and Dev going after NTN. We'll see for Valentina. She resides in all of this. I'd imagine Matsumi's going to do something crazy too. Crazy stuff. The Power Fantasy number 10. Again, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.5 as well. Let's go ahead and jump into some of the artwork here. So this, yeah, a lot of it focuses in on Magus in particular. You have this signal here that was introduced, but there wasn't much that they talked about really with it. And a lot of this is the battle that took place. So like Magus took the pyramid like in between time, and then they're like trying to fight off everything that was happening like in a space in between time, but they were like burning off a lot of their followers for whatever reason, were like dying along the way. And then here's where Magus goes to Dev and it's like, you need to be me, so just pretend. And sure enough, he's been pretending to be Magus the whole time. This is where we have Heavy and NTN talking basically about the party that they're going to have, or effectively the reveal of his son. This is Eliza and Dev doing their thing when they finally re-meet. And then towards the end here is where you get the reveal that they need to go and kill NTN. Dope. Yeah, Power Fantasy number 10. Excellent stuff. Almost the comic of the week, but it's definitely the story of the week. Then next up, Doctor Strange of Asgard number 5. So this, I feel like the ending was a little weak. I gave it a 3.5. Lee gave it a 3.9. I could see a 4 as well. I was in between the two, but in the end, I led more towards 3.5. And I think the big reason for it was just how we finally got to the ending. I was like, that feels kind of weak. So in all of this, we are trying to find out who done it. So Doctor Strange is not the Sorcerer Supreme of Earth. Of course, that's Doctor Doom. So Strange is like, okay, I'll become the Sorcerer Supreme of Asgard. And goes to Asgard, asks Thor. Thor's like, not really my decision. Gotta talk to Hulda, who is like kind of the head sorceress. When he goes to talk to her, Loki shows up, and he makes his claim for it as well. But then Loki kills Hulda. And when he kills her, then Loki kind of snaps out of it and is like, whoa, that was not me. You gotta believe me. And so Strange goes to investigate, holds the line between Loki and Thor, making sure Thor doesn't like really find out. whole long, strange twists and turns as to what is actually happening, who is doing all this. They basically come to a realization that there's someone that possessed Loki for a split second, removed them in some sort of stasis, showed up as a shapeshifter, killed Hulda, and then instantaneously then flipped back the actual Loki and put them there in the place. And they kind of have the memory, but the memories didn't quite match up. So that's how they knew like there were shenanigans afoot, and it wasn't actually Loki. So they're trying to figure out who. And when Strange is trying to figure it out at the start of this issue, he's attacked. So we think it's this person, and Strange has like two people that are helping him out. One, she's like a warrior, and the other is a, basically an apprentice wizard. And so the warrior, it's actually her husband, I want to say. So they go after her and start fighting her, like, why the hell did you do this? Why would you betray? And at first it seems like it's him, but then he like kind of snaps out of it. He's like, I have no idea why I'm here or what we're trying to fight for. And they end up fighting right around Yggdrasil, which is, the tree of life, basically. And so like, okay, if it's not you, then who could it be? And it's revealed that it is the apprentice the whole time. So he was the one that did it. He was the one that killed Hulda. It all happened. And so he makes a sacrifice at the tree of life. And the sacrifice isn't to kill anyone. It's like his love for the woman who's the warrior. But obviously she's already married off. And it seems like he's going to become the Sorcerer Supreme, not Strange. So they're fighting. Then suddenly Yggdrasil shows up in a human form and stops both of them from Strange and the apprentice from fighting, and basically says, Strange, this is a trial, and you've now like defeated the apprentice, and then gives the Sorcerer Supreme title to Strange. So I guess the apprentice, I don't know if he ever existed in the first place. I don't know what happened with Hulda. Don't really get it. So that whole, it's either hand waved away. I don't know if Hulda's dead or what. I don't know if the apprentice ever existed or what. But in the end, Strange is now the Sorcerer Supreme of Asgard. So that's that. All this takes place at the same time that Immortal Thor takes place. So at the very end of the book, he realizes that Thor is dead. The Rainbow Bridge is completely shattered and broken. And there's no way back to Midgard. So at least that's what they shared in the Immortal Thor. So now Strange is like stuck in Asgard and stuck in the other 9 realms, right? If there are 10, then 9. If there's 12, then 11. I can't remember, whatever they are. But there's no way to get back to Midgard right now. And so Strange is just going to be stuck out there doing whatever it is he's going to be doing out in Asgard. So that's it. That's the story. He basically becomes the Sorcerer Supreme. It was all a trial. So now it's like, what next? So that's the conclusion of it. That's why I gave it a 3.5. Lee gave it a 3.9, but I was like, I still don't fully understand. Like, was it all a trial? Maybe, maybe not. That just kind of seems weird. But on the art side of things, everything seems good here. Like, I just don't understand what happened to Hulda. Is she actually dead or not? Like, why are we just kind of like hand waving that away? That's the weird part. But yeah, you got the whole fight scene here, and then the reveal of the apprentice comes up, and then from there the fight kind of continues. The train's like, I gotta be careful, but I should be decent here. But then the apprentice grabs like a tree or a limb from Yggdrasil, but keeps fighting, and then eventually this is where Yggdrasil in a body shows up, and he's like, yeah, you've proven yourself, Strange, I'll give you the title. And then here's where he learns from Surf of like, the Rainbow Bridge is gone, you can't get back to Midgard, and Thor's dead. So we'll see what happens next, but that's the conclusion of the series. Obviously not the time to jump in. I would recommend it. The scores have been lower, but for me personally, I've been enjoying the hell out of it, so I thought it was pretty good. Might be worth jumping in. If you want to hear like a kind of different story from Doctor Strange, sometime on Asgard. Next up here is Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion number 2. I gave this, I think, a 4.5, and Lee gave it a 3.7. So for me, I thought it was pretty good. just because of some of the twists and turns that you have here. So finally, with Incursion, we have the other sides of the Ultimate Universe starting to sync up together, which is what I really like about it. So we have Miles, and this Miles is from a different universe. He's from, I believe, 616, or I think so. I think he's like just from the regular Marvel universe. Ends up here in the Ultimate Universe with his sister. So his sister, Miles ended up in New York, but his sister ended up in Wakanda. And so they're able to track down the energy signature of Miles to the energy signature of his sister. So he goes there with Wasp and Giant Man, who's Ant-Man, but he goes by Giant Man in this universe. And when they get there to Wakanda, and this intersects with the Ultimate Black Panther, of course, they find her there, and of course, there's this big miscommunication to start. So you have the Wakandans, they're fighting off against Giant Man and Wasp and Miles. And it's like, Miles, of course, is all ticked off of, like, you know, in my universe where everyone's all friends and stuff, they talk about the Avengers, and like, you guys sound like you're the Avengers. Like, we don't know what the Avengers are. We're the Ultimates. And Miles is like, the Avengers have a whole bunch of other, you know, technology and resources and stuff. Like, we'd be to Wakanda in an hour. Like, yeah, we don't have anything like that as the Ultimates. Like, we got what we got, so we just have to travel however we can to get all the way to Wakanda. And this is their first contact. So what we perceive of them being friends, like, none of that exists here. And so finally when they talk and they realize, you know, what's all happening, that's when the fighting stops. And someone was watching Billy, the sister, but that someone actually turns out to be someone working for the council and the Maker. So it looks like they're going to, you know, kidnap the child. They think it might be some sort of weapon. They don't even know what it is from the different universe. But all they know is it comes from the Maker's universe. And so they're going to kidnap it. And as they're leaving, the Silver Samurai reveals himself. And he takes the child, kills whoever this double agent was working for the council that pretended to be Wakandan. And he's going to take her back to Haino Kuni. And Haino Kuni is where Ultimate X-Men takes place. So now with this Incursion, we're finally, it's like all starting to make sense and blend together. So the Maker shows up in 5 months, which is crazy. Like, we're so close. I remember, like, it's like, oh, we're finally at 12 months. A full year. Now we're 5 months away. And so all of this is going to have to start to tie in together pretty quickly here. But from Incursion, we have Spider-Man that was introduced in issue 1, then Black Panther, and now in issue 3, I imagine we're going to go Ultimate X-Men. And then it's going to start to converge all together, which is exciting stuff. So that's why I enjoyed it and gave it a 4.5, which it probably deserved more of a 4 now that I think about it. But I like the hype of, you know, the all coming to a head, which is cool. Yeah, because you have Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate X-Men, and then the Ultimates as well. So it's all like kind of mixing together. Oh, the other piece that you get in this book as well is you get Hank's backstory. So he was in some sort of injury, some sort of accident, and then Jan stuck with him the whole time. And because of that he has basically this undying loyalty to her. And so with that, I imagine, and remember Jan, the Wasp, she's actually a double agent working for the council. So I feel like it's going to be revealed. Hank's just going to side with her blindly, and that's going to be like a whole thing. I wonder what influence that she has. I wonder if, like, they paid for his medical bills or something like that, or like he was going to die and then she's like, okay, I'll side with you, and like made some sort of deal, some sort of pact in order to save his life. I'd imagine it's going to be something like that. And she's like been compromised that way. And that's a good way to like hand wave it of like, I had to, there's nothing else I could do type deal. So that's my guess as to where that goes there. But it's an interesting little tidbit as to, you know, why Hank is the way that he is and he's not as confident as maybe as he should be. So yeah, Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion number 2. Again, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 3.7. Then 3 more books here. We have Green Lantern Corp number 6. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.6. And, you know, it probably would have been between a 3.5, 3, and a 4 for me. For this book here, I do just like kind of like the adventures that these guys go on. So we have 2 different sides of the book that take place here. So one is Director Cruz, and I should pull up the notes just in case here on this one, just because you have like a lot of like weird scientific names. So we have director Jess Cruz. She is working her ass off, clearly burning the candle at both ends here, and kind of needs a break. And so Joe recognizes that, and so they're like, hey, we have like a quick little response with Mogo, which is like this planet that's healing, and like we could probably do something to help and support. So Joe brings Jess, and Jess realizes, hey, here's what we have to do. Is Mogo sending like all these defenses out to try to fight both Joe and Jess. Like, you gotta allow us to come in. We're trying to help. We're trying to heal. And slowly Mogo does that, and with that and accepting that, the plant starts to heal. And Jess then realizes like, oh, maybe I need to do this myself and let other people in, so that way I can start healing as well and don't need to take all this pressure on of being the director, and like everything is so serious all the time. So that's one part of the issue. The other part of the issue is what's his face, Sinestro, and along with like a newer recruit, they are tasked with going to the planet Corrigar, and Corrigar is where Sinestro used to be kind of the ruler of back when he was a villain. And so, like, any issue with that, Sinestro is like, no, I can go there, that's fine. And what they're trying to do is recover some resources, like a battery or something, to help return or reconstitute, that's it, the emotional spectrum. And so with that, they go to the planet, and then sure enough, you see Sinestro has offspring there, and the planet they thought was going to be completely destroyed and ravaged, but it's actually come back to life. And his offspring have turned those batteries into like this machine that's able to basically bring back all the life to the planet. And so Sinestro's like, unfortunately, we have to fight you guys, and we need these resources. So they start fighting. And Sinestro's like, hey, what we can probably do here is we can use some sort of other resource to fuel your guys' engine, but the resource that you have in particular, we need to bring that back. And so they agree to that. So that all takes place in this issue as well. And then the final piece is just a cliffhanger that has, it's the Castle of Desolate Stone, Starbreaker's, I guess, final push to seize power, whatever he's trying to do. His plans are ready to be enacted, and that'll probably come up, they said, between Green Lantern Corp and the next issue of Green Lantern as well. So, I mean, fun little issue, fun little adventure here. You could jump into this, it'd be fine. It tends to just be Adventures of the Week, and it's the start of a new arc, so I think you'd be good here. Again, I gave it a 4, Lee gave it a 3.6. If you're to show off, oh, that's the wrong button. Some of the artwork here. Artwork is really, really good. It's like kind of typical DC, but for me, I like kind of more the space and intergalactic style anyways. So here's on the planet of Mogo, where they're trying to figure everything out. Mogo sending out those defense systems. And then here's on the planet of New Krogar is what it actually is. So some of the fighting that takes place there. And coming to the realization that Mogo's healing and Jess needs to do some healing herself. And then here on New Krogar, fighting off his offspring, but basically coming to the realization that, hey, we can come to a compromise here where you just use a different battery source to be able to sustain the planet. And then at the end here, where Starbreaker is like, his plans are finally ready to be enacted at the Castle of Desolate Stone. So yeah, fun little issue here, in my opinion, and a good place to jump in. So that's Green Lantern Corp number 6. Final two here are backlogs. So we have Exceptional X-Men number 5. And this one, I believe I gave a 4. I did. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.9. So in the previous issue, we have Kitty Pryde. Iceman showed up, and Iceman is actually kind of working with the Uncanny X-Men and trying to recruit Kitty back there and reporting back. And Kitty's like, I don't want anything to do with the X-Men anymore. And she basically screams out, like, I've killed people in the past. And they're trying to train up 3 young recruits that are in like high school or something. And they're like, oh my gosh, you killed people, and they don't take it well. And so in this issue, on the front cover here, her name is Theo. She can't deal with that and decides, I'm quitting. I can't be a part of a team where we have a killer that's trying to teach us, right? That just breaks her moral code. And so with that, she goes back home, and she has a cousin. And her cousin, mutant powers just came in, and she's like a lizard, but full time. And so obviously kids at class are making fun of her. She's like, what? I'm going to go in there and I'm going to tell them that they need to leave you all alone. So she goes in, and she does it in like the cringiest way possible, and like yells at everyone in the schoolyard or out front of the school, like, hey, this is my cousin, you leave her alone. But the thing is that Theo is also a mutant, of course, and she turns invisible. And she's still trying to work on her powers. So when she turns invisible, she's not able to turn back. And so everyone just sees her cousin standing there after Theo just yelled at all of them. But there's no one there to like defend, and they can't see Theo. So all it does is actually just embarrass her cousin even further, and has like this unintended consequence. So then Theo's like, oh, man, I can't believe, like, I didn't mean to. Everything was unintentional. But her other friends that are still part of the training are like, hey, you can't like force your ideals and stuff onto people, and you don't have to be a martyr for people. Like, if they don't want you to do something, you shouldn't be doing it. All your cousin was really asking for is like support, not to fight her battles for her. And I think they then kind of realizes like, I don't have all the answers, and maybe I do need this team to help me refine what I need to learn and improve upon. And I'm not being asked to kill anyone. Like, someone has a past, okay, maybe I should learn more about that past and understand. So, character development issue for sure. But in the end, Theo does decide to rejoin, but there's this app where you can submit like your DNA for some of these mutants, and they claim that they can change your identity back into a human form. And so they and them are like, yeah, but no one would ever do that. And then sure enough, at the end, the cousin is like submitting a swab and like trying to send that in to see if she can change back, because she feels so self-conscious about it. So good issue. Again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.9. Going into the artwork here, I'd say it's like just standard Marvel. Nothing too crazy here that you have. You do learn a little bit more about Kitty Pryde's past. And yes, she did kill people, like, of Orcus, but, like, hey, she was being attacked. Like, what else is she going to do? But clearly some trauma that she needs to deal with. This is where Theo quits. And then here's where she learns about her cousin. And then from there, goes to the school and just embarrasses her. Then learns, like, hey, maybe I'm going about this the wrong way. And then decides to rejoin. And then at the very end here is where you see the cousin deciding that she desperately needs to do this. So yeah, Exceptional X-Men, number 5. I know I dropped this at some point, but it's not going to be for a while. So we still have plenty of this in the backlog. But again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.9. And then, last but not least, we have Magik, number 1. And I know I dropped it. I just picked up number 7. And that actually might be the last one we pick up. So we'll have basically 1 through 7. But this one I gave a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. So we have Magik here, who, and this came, when did this come out? January of 2025. So we have Magik. It's her birthday. She's not super thrilled about it. She keeps seeing these visions of the past and her time in limbo, and when she was like coerced by, the demons there. And the other mutants and X-Men, they celebrate it, but she's like, I want nothing to do with this. And she's investigating a murder of a mutant, and goes to that funeral, sees a couple of the people there, that one are like a friend and the friend's grandmother and another friend that's there. And in the time there, from limbo, some demons, of course, are summoned. So Magik's like, okay, well, I can handle this easy. So goes and starts killing all of them. But then they get sucked into limbo. And when they get sucked in, it's the friend, it's the grandmother, and it's another friend. So the other friend dies, and now it's just the grandmother and the kid. And the grandmother, we realize she's got a little bit more about her. She is actually some sort of warden. So there's this seal that they're trying to, this like demon is trying to destroy. And one of, I think it's 5 or 7 seals, and if all 5 or 7 of these seals are destroyed, the demon Liminal will then be released, and if that is released onto Earth, all of Earth is going to be destroyed, basically. So the grandmother reveals this to the son, or the grandson, and to Magik as well. And so Magik's like fighting. Grandmother's doing everything that she can hold off against this one minor demon to release his master, Liminal. And as they're fighting, the grandmother falls as well. And Magik is just barely able to get the grandson out of limbo. So now, basically what they have to do is defend the rest of these seals. And that's the adventure Magik's going to go on with this grandson, who now basically has to pick up the family mantle of like their wardens for these seals. So that is basically the story in and of itself. Pretty interesting. Artwork here is dope. I'd say, typical Magik stuff. So you get some Gunnar elements for sure, but not as bad as you would think, which is good. So it does more focus on the story. But obviously, Magik, a lot of leather, a lot of skin is part of the game that you get with her. But it is more focused on the story itself and not so much the posing. But you get those characters from time to time in comics. Obviously, on the DC side, you have Nightwing is very much in that camp. Power Girl as another. But here, it's more a focus on the action, which is good. So hopefully it stays that way. But the fight scenes that you have in Limbo were pretty dope. Kind of a lot of fiery depictions. You have the paneling that overlays one another, which is always something that I like. Just looks a little more complex than just kind of the standard stuff that you would have. But yeah, it's, I guess, the adventures that Magik's going to have. She's part of the regular X-Men crew up in Alaska, and it's going to continue that way. But here are some of her side missions, fighting off some more demons and protecting these seals. So yeah, that's Magik number 1. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. Boom. So those are the books. That's the review. Let's go ahead and go through these 10 just so we recap it from the top, and then a little brief synopsis here. So Absolute Superman, trying to figure out his inner character. What exactly is he fighting for? Then Fantastic Four number 1, all the Fantastics cast across the time of Earth. How are they going to get back? Transformers 22, a huge advance of the story. Prime in the Hall of Primes. How are they going to continue to fight against the Decepticons? Free Planet, we are concluding they're just fighting off marauders and trying to establish their civilization. Power Fantasy, finally getting towards the conclusion here with all of the different supers aligning to where they are on the power spectrum. Doctor Strange of Asgard becoming the Sorcerer Supreme of Asgard. The Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion number 2. We have the different Ultimate Universes finally colliding together. Green Lantern Corp, just some more adventures in the life of the Green Lantern Corps. Exceptional X-Men number 5. We have Theo realizing that she does need to be part of the team. And then Magik number 1. We have Magik trying to seal off Liminal and preventing the destruction of Earth. So those are the 10. Hope you enjoyed it. Next up, we have the polls. So we're locked and loaded here with 14 books. Perfect. We can do 14. So these books here, I was looking through. We have some books that haven't been featured for quite a while, which is awesome. So that's good. And then we have some heavy hitters as well. So it should be a really good week. Absolute Batman number 10. The heaviest of heavy hitters. Probably the number 1 book I would say. Most people would say, if you're looking for the crowd pleaser, the fan favorite, it's going to be Absolute Batman. So we have that. Absolute Flash number 5. Death of Silver Surfer number 2. And just look at the cover on this one, right? Like, that is freaking awesome. It is Galactus as a skull, and his skull is like fading away as though it's like kind of Thanos to fading away into dust. Freaking awesome. But back to back, those covers have been insane, which is incredible. Then next we have Exceptional X-Men number 11. That'll probably be the last one for Exceptional. Then G.I. Joe number 9. Imperial number 2, which I picked up Imperial just from the shop. Just happened to throw it into my box with like a question mark. And thank goodness they did. And the first one is so good. Then New Champions number 7. The New Gods number 8. Red Before Black, which is from Boom Studio. So I think this is coming towards the end, but that one's been delayed for a while, so it's good that that's coming back. Then we have Red Coat number 13. Looking forward to that. Tin Can Society number 7. Let's freaking go. Love Tin Can Society so much. This one's been delayed for a while. Can't wait to get back into it. Then we have Ultimate Black Panther number 18 and then Ultimate X-Men number 17. I think those are the last issues for those as well. And then Zatanna number 6. And when I should say last issues for the Ultimate, last issues that I'll be picking up anyways for those two. So those will be the 14 that we have for next week. And with that, I think we will close it out. So I hope you guys enjoyed the issue. I hope you enjoyed the episode. All the places where you can find me, of course, are in the descriptions on YouTube, and then Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well, where the podcast feeds are. If you want to email me, feel free to send an email on thoughts and opinions and how you're liking the show, things you want changed, things that you think I could do differently to make it better. Just feel free to let me know. But with that, again, next week, no Omega, just a regular Saturday issue. The week after that, just haven't really decided, but, at the very least, you'll have a Saturday issue. On the wrestling side, quick plug there. Huge week of wrestling, or weekend. So this night, got 2 major events. We have a major event tomorrow, so a lot of reviews that'll be coming out on that side. But be on the lookout for that. Other than that, I think that's it. Appreciate you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Go, 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 go.
This has been a DMW production. Thanks for stopping by.